Entitled mother calls me racist and causes my 3-year relationship to end. I'm not sure that this even matters, but I am a white 24 female and my ex-boyfriend and his family are all black. Before I was even born, I was put up for adoption, and my parents who ended up adopting me are a black family. This whole incident starts about a week ago at my now ex-boyfriend's mother's house. It was her birthday celebration, and it was a pretty large-scale event with lots of their friends and family attending. His mother and I had never had a great relationship, even before all of this happened. She made it very clear to me in no uncertain terms on several occasions that she didn't approve of me being with her son, accusing me from everything to being a gold digger to having jungle fever. Despite all that, I'm given an invitation, out of obligation if nothing else, and I decide that I'm gonna go all in and put my best foot forward. I put on my best outfit, get my makeup done, and have my mum, who's a hairstylist, do my hair. I have her braiding about a quarter of my hair into cornrows, and with the rest of it being my normal short hair, being spruced up and covering one of my eyes. Because I'm bad at describing it, I think of it like Spider-Gwen, only imagine that her shaved part of her head is cornrows. I was running late from having to work that day and having to get myself ready, so when I show up to the house, the party is already in full swing. I notice that I'm getting a few looks from his family members, and at first I think it's just my mum's hard work paying off, especially when one of his little cousins comes up and tells me how pretty I look. Finally, managed to find my boyfriend in the backyard, hanging out with his mum. I come up to say hi and to give hugs, but when she looks at me, she gives me this death glare like I just spit in her face. She starts off on this rant that starts off with, "Look at this little white girl," and divulges into a full-blown tirade with her screaming at me. I'm going to be paraphrasing a bit since I don't remember verbatim what exactly was said, but the core of it was her calling me a racist piece of crap for having the nerve to show up with my hair braided, how I was using black culture to look pretty without having the experience, the hardships that communities go through, and to top it off, calling me a mager tramp several times. I'm straight up sobbing as I try to defend myself, and she's mocking me for crying, and the entire time her family members, including my boyfriend, are straight up indifferent or even encouraging her. My boyfriend falling into the indifferent category. She finishes by throwing her glasses of wine in my blouse, finally getting pulled back by her husband, who tells me that I need to leave. My boyfriend walked me to the door, with his mum continuing to mock the fact that I'm crying. He tells me he'll see me back at my place later, and goes back to the party. I was pretty hurt by that, and I spent a good chunk of time in my car trying to collect myself before I managed to calm down enough to drive home. I had thought that my boyfriend was there sticking up for me, or at least telling them that she overreacted. But as I found out later, that wasn't the case when he showed up to my place. He said that he didn't approve of how his mum handled the situation, but told me he did understand why she did what she did, and that what I did was wrong and racist. He then told me that I needed to apologize to his mum right away and to his family in a few months at the family reunion, and if I couldn't do that, then he couldn't see the relationship working out. Needless to say, I'm pretty hurt, and I ended up telling him all of the frustration I'd been keeping in about how he never goes to bat for me whenever his mother is disrespecting me, how he always finds a way to take her side or spin it like I'm overreacting. Long story short, we ended up breaking up after I made it clear that I'm not going to apologize, with him saying that if I don't get it, he can't explain it to me. Part of me is happy that I don't have to deal with this anymore, but I think I'm more angry and sad that his mum has made him so thoroughly wrapped around her finger, and I had to give up on a guy I thought was the one. Our next story was posted by a user, Unoriginal Use, titled, "Entitled Mother Demands My Drink for Her Kid. Gets mad when she finds out I spoke the truth about being alcoholic." Now for a bit of context. Last weekend was Liberation Day in Holland, and many cities were having festivals to celebrate. Most of the festivals have free entrance, so they tend to crack down on people bringing their own food and drinks, to increase profits, of course, from beverage sales. A mate of mine lives within the area where the festival is taking place though, so usually we drop our booze at his place and retrieve it during the festival. Since it didn't seem like a terrific idea to walk around with a bottle of Jack Daniels, I mixed it into a 1 litre Coke vanilla bottle, with just enough Coke that it looked like Coke, and went onto the festival grounds. I'm assuming everybody is familiar with the common abbreviations. JD is my good friend Jack Daniels. We've been through a lot together. While walking around with this bottle of Coke, I feel a tap on my shoulder. Festival etiquette is to move over to the side to let somebody pass, after which I move along. Suddenly, I feel a hand grabbing my shoulder and trying to pull me back, and I am faced with a typical Karen. Entitled mother. "Where'd you get that?" Pointing at the bottle. Me. I brought it from home. Entitled mother. "Can my kid have some?" Me. Not wanting everybody to know I had booze on me. "Oh, they sell Coke over there. You can buy your kid a fresh, cold one." Entitled mother. "They don't sell vanilla Coke there, and he doesn't like the regular one. He wants yours." And she holds out her hand. "Well, if he doesn't like the regular one, I'm pretty sure he won't like this any better." Meanwhile, the kid has started squealing about how he's thirsty and wants that one. And entitled mother starts giving me a demanding stare. "Okay, lady, I'm gonna be honest with you. Half of this bottle is whiskey, and I don't think it's a good idea to give the kid whiskey." "You're lying. You made that up so you wouldn't have to share with my baby. Now give it to me." While I kinda shrug and turn away in an attempt to disappear into the crowd, the kid grabs the bottle with both hands, wrenches it from my hand, and makes a run for it, his mum in tow. I follow them, and I find them just in time to see the kid take a few massive swigs of the bottle, after which he starts violently throwing up almost immediately. Figuring the best moves for me would be to not further pursue this now vomit-covered bottle of Jack and Coke, I decide to head over to my mates to mix a new one. In passing, I throw entitled mother a "told you" and make my way into the crowds. Within seconds, entitled mother charges me and starts attempting to take swings at me. "You poisoned my baby! Security!" We are separated by bystanders, and a stolehold against security, which questions both me and entitled mother. "He gave my baby this bottle of poison and told him it was Coke. I want him arrested." Security guard. "Sir, what's in the bottle?" Me. "A pre-mixed whiskey and Coke, somewhat on the generous side with the whiskey." Security. "And why did you give that to a kid?" Me. "I didn't, sir. I was mostly planning on getting smashed myself, to be fair. They thought that it was Coke. Wouldn't believe me when I told them it was booze, and snatched the bottle from me. What you're seeing here is just the result of the kid taking a drink before I was able to stop him." At that point, a bystander chimes in, confirming that he saw the kid snatch the bottle from my hand, although he hadn't heard the conversation. Security tells the mum to not pull that crap again, to take her still crying kid to the first aid post, and instructs me to be more careful with the next batch that I'm inevitably about to make. Our next story was posted by user QueenSnow725, titled, "Entitled mother yells at me for wearing a tank top on a school trip because her son shouldn't see that. 1. Most girls were wearing them because it's 100 degrees, and 2. I'm a teacher." The players are OP, me, EM, entitled mum, Mrs. T, my teacher, and Mrs. A, another teacher. I've been student teaching this spring in a 6th grade class. It's been a stressful semester, but a good one. Since day 1, I have been treated 100% like a colleague and equal by my teacher and her grade level partners. I'm very baby-faced and don't always look like I'm in my 20s, but I know these kids very well. I subbed for them a lot last year and in the past fall, so they already have respect for me and we have a decent relationship. This week, we're on a camping trip with 4 total classes. I finished student teaching, but my teacher invited me on as a teacher to get some experience. We mostly hang in the medical lodge and make sure kids take their meds each day. Easy gig after months of teaching. The kids are happy to see me. Anyways, we arrived at camp. I rode on the bus with my teacher. 2 of the other teachers drove their cars with student luggage, and so did some parents. I got off the bus and started to head down to the lodge with the other teachers for our meeting with the camp director and the counselors. I stopped off to fill my water bottle before heading down. As I finished up, a mum came up to me. I smiled and was about to greet her, before she rudely cut me off and says, "You can't wear that." Excuse me? Young lady, that is so inappropriate for a school setting. You're going to distract my son and all the boys. I'm gonna have to ask you to change as soon as we get to our cabins. For reference, I was wearing jeans, a black undershirt, and a tank top with thick straps that covered my bra. You literally only saw my black undershirt that kept my bra from being seen through my shirt. Oh, and it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I let out a small chuckle. I thought it was a silly mix-up and we could laugh about it later. Nope, that set her off. Don't you dare laugh, I'm serious. Who's your teacher? You are so disrespectful. No wonder you're dressed like that, trying to get the boys' attention, I bet. I put on my best polite teacher dealing with parents smile. Whose parent are you? She told me. Her kid was a troublemaker in another class. Mrs. Entitled Mother, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm not a student. I'm a teacher, and the camp's dress code allows my students to wear tank tops, so do not ask them to change. Now you're lying to me. Where is your teacher? I'm getting you sent home. One of my teacher's parents, Mrs. A, overheard the yelling and came over, also in a tank top. Is there something you need, Miss OP? I shook my head. No, I was just introducing myself to Mrs. Entitled Mother. She didn't know Mrs. T had a student teacher this year. Mrs. A nodded earnestly. Mrs. OP has been such an asset to all of us this semester. Your son actually got a few science lessons from her this year. She's going to be a great teacher. Entitled Mother was absolutely red in the face. Later that afternoon, we brought all the parents down to our air-conditioned lodge to talk them through the week ahead. Mrs. T, who was kind of our grade's team captain, introduced me to the parents. Everyone except Entitled Mother was happy to meet me, and a few even said their kids loved having me as one of their teachers. The best part of the week so far was when her son ran up to me at dinner and asked in front of his mum, Miss OP, can you teach grade 7 next year so you can be one of my teachers? I'm gonna miss you. Edit. Thank you for all your kindness. I love teaching and am excited to make this my career. Entitled Mother's son is something of a troublemaker, but he and I got on really well. Also, obligatory thanks for the gold. And our next story was posted by user__69, titled, Entitled Kid Chokes Me While His Mum Is Watching, then tries to make me give him my PS4 because I punched him. This is my first story here, please be gentle. Also, this story is more about the kid than the parent, but the parent was supporting the behavior, so... Our cast are Entitled Kid, Entitled Mother, me, Neighbors 1 and 2, and the neighbors' kids. Also note that the neighbors are actually pretty cool. The entitled kid was just older than them, and so they had some authority. And so it begins. One summer day last year, I had just turned 14, I was playing some basketball with these two kids from my neighborhood in their driveway. Their family is pretty rich, so they have a fully paved quote-unquote driveway, big enough to be a sizable court. It's just me and them for about half an hour, until Satan's son himself came over from down the street. This kid is the really stereotypical little crap who made the select soccer team 3 years ago, and still think he runs the place. So we let him join the game, and everything is fine for a bit. I'm a little bit on the bigger side, but I'm really strong. So I play really well as a center, posting up and that. And the entitled kid is guarding me, and he's getting worked. He's shorter and not as strong as me, so he's getting dominated. Here is the major incident. I've grabbed a loose ball, and I'm running back towards the basket. The other kid gets back before me and stops my drive, so I start to back him down again. He must have just been really frustrated by him not getting a chance on defense, so he thinks up a plan. At this point, I was wearing a hoodie, and the fucker grabs my hood from behind and pulls as hard as he can. I, not expecting my airflow to be cut off, especially while I'm breathing hard, start to panic. I can't shake him off of my back. I don't know how long he's hanging on, but it felt like a whole 45 seconds. That may not seem like that long, but I'm freaking the freak out, so it feels like forever. An eternity later, his grip loosens and I finally get him off. I'm freaking fired up, so I punch him right in the nose. Definitely not as hard as I could, but it certainly would have hurt a lot. This little crap, however, he drops like he's out cold. Meanwhile, I'm on my knees trying to get my breath back. He's bawling his eyes out. He's rolling and screaming and all that, being the melodramatic turd that he is. But his mum is running over, and it was that moment where I knew that I was fricked. Now, sometime between when he started and when I socked him, his mother came out, but she's the typical, I want to speak to the manager, white upper middle class mum who volunteers to be the head of the PTA every year, and goes to Starbucks 20 times a day. And the entitled kid is very much her son. Entitled mother, oh my god, Redacted, are you okay? What did you do to him? Me, he just nearly choked me out, so I punched him. Entitled mother, why would you do that? You're so much bigger than him. Me, but he was choking me out. Entitled mother, come on dude, you gotta be more mature about this. What do you expect me to do? Apologize to him for making him choke me? This whole thing goes on for a while, until the neighbors step in to try to protect me. Neighbor 1, OP really didn't do anything wrong. Neighbor 2, yeah, he didn't even hit him that hard. Entitled mother, but OP shouldn't be hitting people in the first place, especially not my son. Yes, she actually said, especially not my son. Neighbor 2, but it was basically a trade-off. Entitled mother, why are you guys protecting him? You should probably go inside. You don't know what you're talking about. They kept trying to help me out, but to no avail. This just goes around for another 5 minutes before entitled kid finally gets up and limps. Yes, limps back to his house. I go home because I'm sick of this crap and tired. The next day, I try to go back over, but the entitled kid is there already. Neither of his parents' cars are there, so I assume that he's staying at the neighbor's kid's house until they come back. I decide to go back inside because I don't want to interact with him. A couple hours later, entitled kid shows up at our door with his mum standing at the gate of our fence. Entitled kid, hi OP, I was just coming over to say sorry for choking you yesterday. I won't ever do it again. Me, okay, thanks. I'm sorry that I punched you? At this point, my mum comes to see who I'm talking to, and she asks what's going on. Entitled mother pipes up and says, we are here for your forgiveness gift. Me, my what? Entitled mother, your forgiveness gift. It's a tradition in our family that the person who apologizes last has to give the other person something to make up for it. My mum, excuse me? What's going on? I explained what happened, and as I explain what happened, she seems to get more and more disgusted by the situation. I finished explaining and turned back to an entitled kid who had tried to correct my story while I was explaining it to my mum, saying things like, he punched me twice in the face and then kicked me in the nuts while I was crying on the ground. My mum is basically a bomb-sniffing dog for lies, so I can see from her face that she knows that that's bullcrap. I turn back to entitled kid. My mum, I'm sorry, but we don't do forgiveness gifts in this family. Entitled mother, we do in this one. Entitled kid, pick something out. Entitled kid looked around and saw my PS4, and he points at it. Mommy, I want that! Keep in mind that this kid is about a year younger than I am. Too old for mommy, too old for this whole situation in my opinion. Entitled mother walks up to our door and sees that it's my PS4. Great, we'll take that as our gift. My mum, with steam billowing out of her ears, slams the door in their faces and quickly locks it. They start pounding on the door so hard that it sounds like they're trying to break it down. We leave the door, but they stay there pounding on the door for at least another 5 minutes before finally leaving. I still leave my neighbor's house anytime I see him walking down the block. That's the story. I understand that it was super long, may not be as high stakes or entertaining as some of the other stories here, but thanks for reading it if you got this far. Howdy Homarchy Army, hope you enjoyed the episode as always. If you want to subscribe, click the big boy button on screen and listen to our latest playlist by clicking that bad boy also. And if there's anything else you want to talk about in this episode, feel free to hit me up in the comments and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.